insurance agents, like really good salespeople who are paired up with someone who loves operations, that is an unstoppable team. But that's not usually the case.
Sometimes you don't need more marketing. You don't need more people. You don't need more leads. Sometimes you just need the right processes to make sure that you are maximizing the opportunities that you already have. In today's episode, Courtney and I sit down with Mariah Gates, and she is going to go through the processes and systems that you need to have in your agency to run a successful agency. With that being said, let's start the show. Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Michael and Courtney Weaver, and we have a very special guest with us today, owner of Accelerated Automations, Mariah Gates. What's going on, Mariah?
So excited to be here. Thank you guys for having me. Really just super excited. I'm so glad that we were able to connect.
We are pumped.
Oh, we are so damn excited because what's the one thing that every agency owner talks about? We need processes and systems. We need systems. We need processes. And so when I heard what you did, when I heard you were the queen of processes, when I heard that you help agents build out their CRMs, you know what to automate, what not to automate, and everything in between, I'm like, we got to get Mariah on the buzz. Like we got to be sharing what's going on, what she's seen successful agents do, what unsuccessful agents do, and everybody in between. So
let's get into it. We're going to jump right in. I want to know, how did we land on accelerated automation? Where did this come from?
So the company itself was just born out of demand. I was automating systems in my own agency and sharing it on social media of how much it was changing my insurance agency, how it was helping our staff, how it was allowing me to step away from being the producer in the office to really being the business owner. It was giving me data and analytics. It was allowing us to reach more people. And I was just very excited about it. I came from the banking industry, and I worked, my last banking job was JP Morgan Chase, and they are a innovator in the banking space. They have a lot of tech. And when I came into the insurance space, I was really shocked to see that wasn't really the case. So 5 years into my insurance career, I got my, first CRM that had automation, and I got my first taste of it. So I was just sharing it all over all of the groups I was in, and these groups where people had shared great ideas with me and best practices. And I wanted to also spread the good news of like, this is so great. And through that became some demand of people asking for help and support with their system. And after months of saying no and really praying about it, I decided, okay, maybe there's something to this. I'll start helping people. And one person at a time. I mean, we didn't do any marketing, any advertising for 3 years. And it was just helping people that came and asked for help while I had my agency. That's how it started. And, now I sold my agency a year and a half ago. This is all we do. We have 14 team members, and we've helped approaching 1,000 agencies nationwide. So it was not even like a idea I'm going to start out of my garage. It's like something that like basically kept slapping me in the face until I said yes. But it's been a blast. That's where it started.
Oh my gosh. I feel that deeply. I feel that deeply. Weaver Sales Academy was very similar. It was something that we needed, and it was a high in demand product. And we're like, how do we create this for ourselves, but how do we create this for others? So I'm just going to go for it if we can. Can we just get right into like nitty gritty?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. So when somebody comes to you, and I love that you have insurance background. I love that you are an agent. You sat in that seat. You understand what they're going through. When they're coming to you, what is their main problem that they're having trouble with?
Well, because we've really gotten very niche, like we're very specific in the Agents Museum CRM, which is now owned by Vertafore. They're usually frustrated at the point that they are contacting us, or maybe they don't even know that, we were around and they responded to something we sent out, but they've usually spent a decent amount of time trying to figure out the system on their own. Now, it's a user-friendly platform, don't get me wrong, but if you want to use the automation features, you have to have kind of a mindset of the if this, then that, what happens next. And to be honest, and I didn't know this when I started, but now that we've had so much exposure to agencies of all different sizes and different business owners, I learned pretty quickly that most insurance agents are really good at sales, and that means that they don't have a process mindset. It's just a different personality. So insurance agents, I always say that are paired up, like really good salespeople who are paired up with someone who loves operations, that is an unstoppable team. But that's not usually the case. They're usually very sales minded because it's a sales organization. So by the time, we talk to them, if they're actually looking for help with their system, they've usually made a lot of mistakes, maybe sent out the wrong automation to the wrong people, which is okay. If you are trying automation, don't be scared to make mistakes. It's easy to say, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Customer. That was a mistake in my new system. I apologize. I'll fix it. That's how I did it for the first year. But they're usually just, spending a lot of time finding hiccups, or they simply know that it can do more and they don't know how to make it do the more for themselves. So that's when we usually end up talking to them.
So what would you say, because you work with a lot of different customers. So what would you say is like the top 1 or 2 processes that you are helping agents build out in their CRM on a consistent basis that you see make the biggest positive impact in their business?
Yeah, well, insurance is, of course, all about, bringing in new clients and maintaining the clients that you have. Those are the 2 big core pieces. And so if you aren't bringing in enough customers to replace the clients who are just going to leave through natural attrition, even if you run the best operation, people move, they pass away, they sell things. It's just how it goes. And so you have to bring in enough clients. So sales is probably the number 1 thing that people are most focused on. And CRMs historically, are for your sales and lead management. And what I see is that people think that they need more and more and more marketing and more producers, when in reality, they need to make the best, they need to make the most of what they have. Now, they may need some more marketing or people. Those, of course, are appropriate in certain situations. But most agents underestimate really the follow-up, the actual sales process, how long it takes to stay in touch with the prospect to win that business. And, when I was in sales, that was one thing we were always taught. And then my mentor, when I got into insurance, he always said that, a no is just not right now. So you have to continue to reach out. My original district manager had me do like a paper file with my quote forms in it, back when everything was on paper, and said, put them in there by month and then call your X dates every month. But I was always so busy marketing and selling to new people, selling to new leads. I never did pull out that dusty old file cabinet with, the file with all of the quote sheets from like last year and the year before. And what we found is that when you stay in touch with people, when you say, hey, I'll reach out to you on your next renewal, and then you do it, it's not normal, right? 8% of people follow up more than 5 times. 8% of salespeople follow up more than 5 times. And we know it takes a lot of consistent follow-up. So, and it's flattering too, right? From a consumer perspective, if you really enjoyed working with them, you want to continue to work for them, and you take the time to follow up. But in an agency, when you're quoting and dealing with underwriters and, rate problems and marketing and making phone calls and gathering information, it's hard to spend that amount of time. So lead pipelines, making sure that the leads are actually retouched, and then the follow-up, automating those follow-up processes is one of the places we see people get the biggest lift. Not even to mention like automating and making sure that you capture every line of business opportunity. So automating your cross-sell and then your win-backs, people that they cancel their policy. There was just a competitor that you couldn't beat at that time. And if you're not checking in with them next year when rates are up again to win that customer back, it's a huge miss. So there's a lot of overspending in marketing, in my opinion, in the insurance industry because they don't utilize well what they have. So a CRM can help with that so much. I have agencies who've literally stopped buying leads because their CRM is generating so much opportunity for them because it's a database full of opportunity that they weren't otherwise tapping into. So that's the big first one that we see.
So just to reiterate everything you're saying, there's a reason why the saying is there's fortune in the follow-up, right? Like the fortune is in the follow-up. But you said, it was an interesting stat, like only 8% of salespeople have a follow-up after 5 tries. Mm-hmm. And it reminds me, so we had a thing back in the day called, and I called it a sequential marketing program, an SMP. And the carrier that I represented, they got rid of this system and they brought in a whole new thing, Salesforce CRM, everything's built out for you. And when I got this, I was like, this is awesome. It's all going to be built out for me. Well, there's like 3 follow-up tasks and then a 5-month. And I'm like, what the shit is this? Like, this is not going to work. Like,
No.
now some follow-up is better than no follow-up, which some people do. But it's like, no, you have to have consistent follow-up till you get them on the phone. And then you got to have the 5-month. Then then there's going to be some calls scattered in between with emails and texts. Then there's going to be the 12-month if you don't get a hold of them on the 5-month. And it all restarts when you quote their business. And so what you're doing for agents is an absolute must. Like the win backs. Any customer that leaves you, you have to have an automated task or whatever. I recommend automated so you don't forget about it. That automatically shows up on your calendar that's like, hey, I know your rates just went up. I'd love to earn your business back. So I love what you're doing for agents because you're 100% right. Like if you've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing and you have thousands of leads in your system, that is new opportunities every 5 months, like just boom, boom, every month. I mean, after you build a pipeline, like what you're talking about.
Yeah, even just reaching out after, like if once they buy another policy, if you have a 30-day touch point, think about the number of policies that are bound with wrong discounts that don't validate and payments that bounce and bad customer experience, even 30 days in, right? And as long as you have something that goes to kind of touch in and say, we're still here, we're happy to help, hope your new policy is going well. Again, is your team going to have time to send that email or that text depending on your opt-ins? No, probably not. But you can automate it, and it just grabs this like low-hanging fruit. Things that are happening in people's lives. I remember when I had my agency and I first put it into place, my favorite thing is that I would wake up in the morning to replies to automation, and I knew exactly who I was calling when I got to work that morning. I would see them in my inbox or in my, my app on my phone because they had responded to an email that went out before I was like even really at the office, or they responded to it. It went out yesterday and they responded to it overnight, and then I had it in the morning. And so then I had my hot list for the day, right? These are people who are engaging with me. And the responses would be things like for our cycled leads or people who left past would be things like, I'm getting married. I'm getting divorced. I bought a car. My kid is driving and the rates are insane. And now I want to shop. We had a claim and it was horrible. I mean, these things are just life. They just happen. But if you don't stay in touch with these people, you never have the opportunity to reconnect and find out what's going on and be in their inbox or write in their phone and say, hey, we're here. We want to help, probably in different words than that. But so that was my favorite thing, was really to just see those responses and then have it selling for me. I sold so many umbrella policies, life insurance, because people would just reply to the campaigns that we had built in. But that's usually the first thing that agents are really interested in, because a lot of times they think that they need just more sales. And so that gets them there kind of quickly. And then it's a little bit addicting once you see what it can do to your sales. And then you start applying it to other parts of the business.
So just to reiterate, so the 30-day thing, I love that you're hitting on that, because there used to be a statistic that the carrier representative put it out, and it was mainly for financial services, life insurance. And by day 30, if you hadn't brought up life insurance to that customer, you ultimately had less than like a 10% chance of ever selling life insurance to that customer with their tenure with you. Whereas if you had the conversation within 2 weeks, you had upwards of a 50% chance of converting them into a life insurance customer. So the 30 days is an absolute must. Did you have?
No,
okay.
I'm just rolling.
So I did have a question though. So automations have changed a little bit in the way that we're communicating with customers. So how are you incorporating, and I promise we'll get to your point too of but I want to get on this real fast. So you're sending out a lot of emails. How have you incorporated text messages into your automations because text messaging has like a 95% open rate within the first 5 minutes, right? So how are you incorporating that into automations, and what are you seeing work really well?
Well, we used to be able to incorporate it a lot easier after, before TCPA got so out of hand. So just general disclosure, make sure you are compliant and you're getting your opt-ins and you're checking with your vendors, because you can be literally sued by anybody and they can go back and check for opt-ins for years, and it can get nasty fast. So be careful with texting, but when you do it right, you're correct. 95% read rate, engagement level is great. The thing to keep in mind is that it's a text. Don't write a book. I see a lot of automation that it's like this long and there's so many words and you could say a sentence. It's conversational. Think of if you were going to text your friend, you're going to text them something short. Don't text them like, you're pouring your heart out to somebody, like I don't know, you broke up with your boyfriend and you want to tell him all the reasons why. Don't text him like that. Right? Do that. McKenna's over here laughing at me now. do a short text, and make it to the point, and, and try to engage. And when they reply, here's the other thing, you guys, if they reply to an email or they reply to a text, call them.
Yes.
Don't sit there and text and email back and forth.
Don't be trying to sell shit via text and email, man.
Oh my gosh. It is a completely different situation if you call and they text you back and they say, you know what, I'm at my kid's recital. Can I call you tomorrow? Fine, right? But if they text, their phone is in their damn hand. Call them. That is the best thing. You have to sell insurance on the phone. So that's the other thing I think that automation gets a bad rap around. People think that we're trying to automate away your producers and your people. And that is not the point. With a lot of automated follow-up, all of your talk time and call volume should go up. Your team doesn't have the excuse of, well, I'm drafting 15 emails an hour to follow up with people. No, you're not, because it's automated now. So now you have all the time in the world to make phone calls and get on the phone. But as far as incorporating text messages, at a reasonable interval, you also don't want to be blowing up their texting because they are going to see every single one of them. Where in your email, you're not likely going to have them see every single one because there is a lot of emails, right? So that's where you need to be consistent. You need to cut through the noise there as well. I love sprinkling in emojis into my emails and text messages appropriately, of course. And think about what you're selling to. Don't be like, it's New Year's and send them a little champagne emoji. No, please don't drink and drive, on New Year's. You're selling insurance. So be appropriate, but they stand out. They grab attention. When I first started talking about this a few years ago, some of these really old, not old, but insurance agents who've been in the industry for a very long time, right? The suit and tie guys who, work have the same personality as a banker or a lawyer, right? Very, very professional. Thought that was just the worst idea ever. But I challenge you guys to think about who your target client is today. Your target client is changing. So I'm 37. I've got 2 kids. I've got a house, cars, rental. I'm a great insurance client. I'm a millennial. Texting, emojis, this is how I communicate. There's a good chance that if I call me on the phone, I probably won't answer. I'm going to text you back and say, what do you want?
What's up?
Or please send me a text. And I'll talk on the phone, don't get me wrong, but emojis aren't going to push me off or make me think that you're unprofessional. My attorney uses them. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're thinking about what you want to send. Another great thing with text is things like links. So you got to make sure your cell phone provider your VoIP provider allows all this and your CRM allows it. But if you've got someone you just can't get on the phone, if you have a digital intake form where you can gather some of their information to get started, that is hugely beneficial. If you think about the e-commerce people buying online, they're after work, they had dinner, kids are in bed, they want to sit there and submit a few pieces of information to you for their insurance. Give them that option. Don't eliminate the ability to talk to people. Have choices where they can submit information on your website. They could reply to a text message. They could talk to you. They can come in the office. They can do a Zoom call, meet the client where they're at, but don't limit yourself either because you think that, maybe you're trying to sell to yourself. I feel like people do that a lot. Well, I wouldn't want to do stuff over a text, so I'm not going to text. Well, good for you. But after COVID, there was a 65% increase in business to consumer texting. It is happening and consumers like it.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I jam on this so much because I think that I love tech. I love automation. I like where we're headed because I look at it as history is going to take us wherever it wants to go. Get on the ride. Here we go. And for me, it's how do I use it to enhance the customer experience? Mm-hmm. How do I use it to start working for me and helping make my job and make me better? Because that's what this is demanding, is that us as producers and as agents and as the people actually having these conversations that we get better. I love that you're bringing up all of this. So I'm curious in the follow-up process, you're talking about touch points. Do you have a standard on how many touch points in the follow-up process before you're like, all right, this is where we start to see some gold?
So we, in the first 3 days, we follow up every single day, text and email and phone call because it's hot on their mind, right? I also am a big advocate of double dialing, but this isn't something we build into our automation. A lot of people are still very resistant to that. And sometimes my own sales team is like, I don't want to double dial. I'm like, but 40% of the time they pick up on the second dial.
Do it right now.
Yes. So it's very, very helpful. Double dial, text, email, like I left you a message, we're trying to reach you. So first 3 days. From there, every other day is what we do. There's people out there who, I literally was at a conference at the beginning of this month or in May, and they said they triple dial. And then they do the same thing for the next several days. Good for you. I mean, that's fine. I am all a big fan of making attempts to contact, be assertive in that. I think if you have a lot of confidence in what you're doing and that you do a great job and you sell a great product and they really shouldn't be insured anywhere else, if you really believe that to your core, it is very easy to follow up because it almost feels wrong not to, because they're going to land somewhere else. And if you believe you're the best, they should land with you, right? Because you want the best for them. So that would be my every other day. And then we build the campaigns for 6 weeks. I will say at week 4, most people will build a campaign that has like a touch point for maybe 1 or 2 weeks, but we build them for 6 weeks every other day. And there's calls sprinkled in there. I mean, depending on your producer's, like workload and capacity, how much they can actually handle, because you definitely don't want to assign them a bunch of calls that they can't handle. That's very defeating when the list never like gets, completed. So do what you can handle. But between 4 and 6 weeks, we see a big jump in engagement again, because everybody else that they were getting quotes from or that was reaching out have all stopped.
So good. Okay.
We speak so much the same language. I'm like, I already know what she's about to say. So I don't mean to cut you off. I'm just like,
And the funny thing is
I've cold called so much that it's like, this is what happens. Like, if you want to be better than everybody else, you just have to do the work nobody else is willing to do. And you're helping with an actual like streamlined process that sets people up for success. And the double tap, not to bring this back up, but for some of you that are like, well, why does the double tap work? The double tap works because a lot of people's phones, like myself, are on D&D all the time, which means the only way you're getting through is if you do double tap me. So I appreciate the salespeople that double tap me, and usually I'll answer because I'll be like, what's up? How we doing? Like, I want to see how good this person is. And so I love that you bring up that point. That's such a solid point. And you also bring up what is most important in that is if you are confident in what you're doing and if you truly believe you are the absolute best option for the customer, you're doing a disservice by not following up with that customer. You're doing a disservice by not doing everything you absolutely can to get them on the phone and close the business because they're in better shape with you than they are right now without you.
Yeah, no, 100%. I really believe that. I had, this was my most extreme situation, but when I was an agent, I had a prospect who I followed up with for 3 years before they allowed me to quote them. I literally called them once a month for 3 years. It was a referral from a friend. They had several businesses in the area. I was like, man, if I can get this one client, it was like my Everest, I was determined. And they did not respond for 3 years. I called them every single month. And finally, when she picked up the phone, she was like, you must have a screw loose. I cannot remember when you were not calling me. And I was like, I really, really want to do your insurance. And I know that I can help you guys. And I had helped other businesses in their industry. And she was like, okay, when do you want to come out? So I went out to the house, and we were able to write up, I was able to do all of their insurance. And they simply had more equipment. Their rate went up and they were ready to shop. Their CPA was like, it's probably time for you to shop your insurance. It's getting up there. And it was just persistence if I hadn't called. Now, I will say that was the only one I called for 3 years straight. That was a lot. And it was before I had any kind of automated system. So I just had a repetitive reminder in my calendar every single month to reach out. Automating it is so much easier. On the double dial thing, just a side note to that. So I am loving conversational AI. It still, I feel like, has a long way to go. And I think that people calling is still better. But just recently, I sent my information in to Simple Talk AI because I keep hearing about them. I have a few clients using them, and I was like, I'm gonna look at it. They have double dialed me 3 times today. I put my information in over the weekend. So when you guys think of, what your competition is doing and what they're capable of compared to the volume and the likelihood you are to reach somebody, if you're calling once, like you said, Courtney, like you said that it's not going to stop, right? It's not going to stop. So you have to adapt these things and keep up and be able to continue to do business in the space. And AI is not going to stop and automation is not going to stop. And if you don't embrace it, I keep using Blockbuster. I love to pick on those guys because that's, you'll be the next Blockbuster. And if you want to retire in the next couple of years, fine, be a Blockbuster. You're on your way out anyways. But if you want to grow the business, these are tools that you have to adapt to because your agent down the street from you is just going to be able to move so much faster.
Agreed.
I love it. I really do. I did not. And I'm usually one to resist a lot of technology changes. I'm usually one to resist it, but this one, it just felt like, oh, this is going to be so beneficial in operating a business and leading a team, just in my day-to-day life. This is going to take off so much information that I have stored in my brain of like, okay, I need to remember to do this. I need to remember, like, this takes everything. Are you writing the copy too for all of these, like the text messages, the emails? You're building out all the copy for that too?
Yeah. So I started doing my own, of course, just based on my own experience. So I've been in sales since I was, 18 years old. I was a waitress, and then I was in banking, retail, and commercial banking, management, insurance, obviously. So just drawing on my own experience, writing out my own copy. But my thought is always conversational. I don't want it to be super scripted. Long form copy has a place, especially like in retention, client education, onboarding, great places for long form copy. Everything else, I try to make it sound like I typed it out, like your producer said it. If you can read the email and it's something you would say out loud to someone, it's probably pretty good copy, but it's got to have some structure to it. The answer is yes, we build the copy. We rewrite our copy every year based on the open rates and engagement rates, feedback we're getting, what we can see is working in the space. We have a team member who was like a stay-at-home mom who came to us to do data transfer and has just she's a copywriter now. She's a full-blown copywriter. She's taken courses. We have trialed and errored. She's used different AI tools to help support. And then we actually have one of our team members who's in sales and marketing who is a copywriter and has also added additional knowledge. But copyright is interesting. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect science. There is structure that really helps. But a lot of it is trial and error and seeing what works. And it kind of changes over time too, because your target client changes, what they're used to hearing and seeing changes as well. But yes, we've built all the copy. We have over 1,000 different templates that we've created over the last few years, and we rewrite them every single year. So our clients do not receive the same, recycled stuff.
That's so good.
So good. So the thing that we run into with Weaver Sales Academy, and I'm curious if you're running into this as well, is that when you go to integrate a change, there's sometimes resistance with your team, or how do I keep them using this, or how do I even train them on this? Because we have the same belief that people can be trained up, you can grow, you can take what you currently have, and you can maximize that opportunity. So what does that look like when you go in and you do help somebody with, implementing processes and systems, especially with the team? Talk to me a little bit about that.
So I actually had this conversation this morning with our fractional COO team. So we have project managers, fulfillment, and developers for a service we launched in January. We have 19 agencies on that, where we're actually on an annual contract with them, helping them with all things operations. So their processes, optimizing them, adding automation, adding AI or technology to make it efficient and really let their team do what they're best at, which is talking to people and adding value and building relationships. So in that service, we were having a discussion that we had a project we had spent a lot of time on. It was for a commercial only agency, and it was their renewals process. And they were on some old technology. We replaced the tech. We did meetings with the team. They were so excited because what we started with was, tell me about what you guys do today. So we met with the team and we said, hey, we're here to help, add efficiency, make your life easier. That's our entire goal. We want to hear all of it, the good, bad, the ugly, what's working, what do you hate doing, what takes up a lot of your time. And about an hour and a half meeting that we had with them to just learn about it. And what we determined was there was one person in the agency who was pretty process minded, and she had a good process in place. And as she was talking about it, other team members were like, well, I kind of do it this way or that way, but I like that better. They weren't even really 100% sure what everybody was doing. And the agent was kind of along on this ride with us. So having the team figure out where you're at first from the team was great. And then as they were talking, I said, okay, so if right now you're doing X, Y, and Z, but if you could do X, Y, and A, would that be better? Oh my gosh, that would save us so much time. Okay, we're going to see if we can solve for that. So we're trying to help them see that there's ways to make their jobs easier and more enjoyable. And the other side of that is asking them what they wish they didn't have to do, So we would say things like, if you could remove a part of this process, what is it? So sometimes they would say things like deal with the underwriters. And we're like, okay, well, sorry, got to keep doing that. My bad. Can't automate that one. Pick something else. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Exactly. Foot and mouth. So, but we would then ask them, what else they wanted to kind of get rid off their plate. And so try to solve for that. And then coming back and bringing options. With team members, there will be people on your team who will be so resistive to change, and you'll have to make a decision on whether or not this person is somebody you want on your team. Change is constant. When I'm recruiting and I'm interviewing, I literally say, like, if you don't like an environment that's fast paced and will be different year to year, you shouldn't work here, because at this point we work between insurance and technology, and neither are going to stay the same. So I think agents need to have a limit. We see a lot of agency owners get really held back by their staff, and they'll say things like, my team won't do that. My opinion is coach up or out. There is really no other option. You can't just continue to let them, drag your business down. But taking them through the process, allowing them to have input and feedback, and really helps them with buy-in and what you're doing. But there is a point and a limit to that. So my call this morning with the COO team that I mentioned, we went through that whole process with that same agency. We mapped the project. We built the project. We created the training material. We delivered the training. And then in the training call where we were rolling this out, there was more feedback. And my pushback to my project manager was, you shouldn't have allowed that, because this wasn't a feedback session. This was a training session. The decisions have been made. Feedback is over. We've spent hours, 20, 30 hours after feedback happened, building this the way that the agency wants, what's best for the clients to improve efficiency. And so I had to push back on her and say, because she was going back on the project, making adjustments. And I said, well, that's reworking the project, but now they're not implementing because now they're waiting for you to rework it. When in reality, that was a perfectly well thought out process, and they should be using it today. And now it's causing delay. So you have to involve them, but you also have to know, when is that enough? And you are the business owner. You have a much larger view of what this is going to do in your business. Most of your teammates don't have that. Allow them to be engaged, but have a limit.
This is a great point too for leaders as well, who try to dig up seeds too fast, who don't let a process actually like let it run, instead of letting it run for a little bit and then being like, okay, we're going to change. Like, you can't constantly keep changing things until you actually let it run its course and see where it worked and where it didn't, because it's a lot of a science experiment. To your point, what you were saying earlier is a lot of trial and error and going, this worked, this didn't. Okay, now we can move this around. So last question, because we've talked so much amazing information about automation, the follow-up process, team buy-in. What's something that anyone listening right now should not automate in their agency?
You shouldn't automate any of your actual presentation, in my opinion. Now, I'm going to give you an off on that. But if you're recommending insurance, if you are actually selling the policy, you should be speaking to the customer. You should be talking to them about their assets and liability and the gaps in their policies and how the insurance works when they use it. So when I was an agent, I was a farmer's agent, you guys. Nothing was cheaper when I sold insurance. Like, sorry, farmer's agents, but that was not my experience. 9 years. Everything I quoted was more expensive. So I got to get really, really good at value selling, but that meant I had to be a really good agent. I had to look at their policy. Canopy Connect, I'm sorry, I'm putting a plug. I love that platform. If you can see their insurance before you quote, you know exactly what you're comparing to. This apples to apples stuff drives me crazy. Why would you want to compare rotten apples to rotten apples? That's just stupid.
And then try to put a bigger price tag
There's
on
no
it.
value. Apples to apples is no
value.
value. None.
Yes. So I learned to be a value seller. And even in the days of automation is follow-up, outreach. Now, like I said, when you're presenting your quote, that I had times where I couldn't get a hold of clients, or I would have one-legged appointments, husband or wife. Oh, I want to talk to my wife. I want to talk to my husband. Business owners can't nail them down because they're just, all over the place, us crazy business owners. And, but so I really liked video quoting. that is a caveat to like automating the sale that I am okay with, because I'm still going to have the conversation with them as best I can. But if I'm going to make a recommendation, it's going to be in any way automated. I'm going to record myself reviewing that proposal and explaining the benefits, the gaps, the reasons for the adjustment, and sending that to them. I can then also see when they watch it, which is a little creepy, but it's also kind of cool because you can call them and say, hey, I saw you just watch that proposal. What questions do you have? So at least in the system we use, we can see that they've watched the video, and then you're still following up to bind that. But if you are emailing like a PDF of a quote, like just stop. Like it's completely pointless. They don't know what they're reading. They're going to scroll to the bottom and look for the price.
Right. They're just going to go to the price.
If you have built some relationship through the discovery process, which of course is important, then when you are saying, gosh, like if you had this claim and they only gave you the value of your depreciated roof, would you be able to pay the difference? We just had a windstorm last winter that was blowing off shingles like crazy. What if your roof would have blown off? Could you have paid for that? I wouldn't want that on your financial burden. I wouldn't want you to have that burden. So I put a replacement cost roof on that to make sure you would get a whole new roof in that situation. So, they can hear you, they can hear your passion and how you're caring about them. And if it's $50 difference or $100 difference, they're not going to care, because you're helping them understand the actual lived difference of using this insurance policy. So don't automate away the sale and building that value. But if you really, really can't get them on the phone and your thought is to email a quote, at least do a video proposal.
I like that. Yeah, I stand on a pedestal, and I've been loud about this, but if you are somebody in the industry right now that does the apples to apples, transactional, email, text message, never talk to customers, I hope I'm wrong, but I believe you will be gone in the next 3 to 5 years, because there will be no more room for you in the insurance industry when AI can do that for you. Your job, as we've talked about the whole time, AI is here to help enhance the customer experience and give you more time back to do what only you can do, and that is to establish human connection and have real conversations that convert to where you can actually help people. Like, that is what you do as an insurance professional. So I don't mean... I'm getting riled up right now. I can feel myself even getting hot, but shit, Mariah, like, you are spot on with this. Like, if you are just emailing or texting out quotes or quoting apples to apples, like, I would just encourage you right now to skill up, master the game, take what you do seriously, because what you do every single day matters. You have the ability to change, have a conversation. That doesn't mean you're necessarily going to help them, but actually have a conversation that is educational, that's empowering, and put someone in a better financial position on their worst day. I don't care if they total out their car, their house burns down, they die, they get disabled. Like, you have that power. You wear what I call an A on your chest every single day. You are the protector of assets. And I think so many times in the insurance industry, it can be so damn hard because of the day-to-day operations and the task and the calls and the upset customers, that it's really easy to forget about how powerful of a profession you have. So if you're listening to this right now, number one, I already know that you are trying to get better. Like, you're somebody that is actively trying to get better because you are listening to something that is helping you right now. But just don't forget about that. Don't forget how powerful of a profession you have every single day, how noble you are in the positive impact that you have the ability to make every single day with the people on the other side of the phone or on the other side of the desk.
Can I piggyback on that?
Yeah.
As a leader, as a producer, also be willing to ask for help, especially if there is something that you don't know how to do in your agency and you are spinning your wheels and you are trying to figure it out, something like automation, hire that out. Let somebody come in and build the system for you so that you can just run the system. Ask for help in areas that you aren't strong in. Like, there's no weakness there. Like, this is how we grow and get better. Like, this is what you are doing, Mariah. I am so freaking excited, because it is the thing that we talk about and we hear from agents all the time is processes and systems. So I'm pumped for this.
Yeah. And so, Mariah, I would love to know, if somebody wanted to work with you, maybe just find out more about you, what's the best way for them to do that? Follow you on social, go to your website. What would that look like?
All those things are good. So our website is acceleratedautomation.net. Yes, I would shorten it to our acronym, but our acronym is AA. So not going to do
Starts
that.
with the serenity prayer, I'm pretty sure. So
I
that
mean,
could
it
work.
definitely provides some good inside jokes at our company between our staff, right? We're like, it was a week at AA, that kind of thing. Anyways, but acceleratedautomation.net. Yes, I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. But I agree with that statement, Courtney, that you said about hiring out your areas that you're not interested in or your weaknesses. So one of the big shifts for me in business was I had joined a marketing program called Fully Covered. Nato was the founder, Nato Guardo. He was the one who told me about the book, The E-Myth. This was early on for me. I read The E-Myth and I read it and I didn't apply it to my life for years afterwards. And then now when I look back, that was a big shift for me, was really thinking about, okay, I've been good at sales since I was very young. I worked in that space, but I had to start looking at it as a business and not being, in the E-Myth, they use the baker as an example, right? You can bake the world's best pie. So you open a bakery, but you know nothing about marketing or taxes or accounting or negotiating a lease for your space or buying equipment. You just know how to bake a pie. So it's fine if you start as the baker, but you got to turn into the business owner. And hiring out or hiring people around you that do other parts well, I mean, it is such a faster pace to your goal, and it's so much more enjoyable as well. And if you are going to be the leader, maybe mentorship in your company or adding tech or operations, whatever it is, you're like, I'm not good at that. I don't like doing that. Try to find somebody who is good at it. If we all do the thing that we're the best at all day long, you will have a very successful company. So I know agency owners who are phenomenal at marketing, horrible at operations. They all need executive assistants and an operations manager. But they should be out marketing because their phones are ringing off the hook looking to do business with that agency because of their networking capabilities. So if you really are honest with yourself and look at what you're good at, you can continue to work on the other pieces, but try to hire other people who have that level of execution in other areas that you don't even have any interest in learning. Maybe technology is one of those. Took me a year to build out my CRM without any help. So, if it gives you some perspective on it, and I'm pretty good with tech, just have always been, but it still took me a year to do my own agency. Yep. It's a process.
Huge process.
This has been so good.
Ooh, this has been good, Mariah. This you delivered lots of golden nuggets here, and we appreciate you so much for coming on the Buzz. For all of those of you that are tuning in today, thank you so much as always. Time and attention are by far our most important assets. We just don't say that without you. Honestly, this wouldn't be doable because it wouldn't be as much fun, right? So we just appreciate every single one of you tuning in every single week, and just appreciate your love, your feedback. We hope that you take what Mariah said today, go out, implement, and other than that, take care, go out, make it great. Mariah, thank you again.